Well, that all comes as Washington is set to announce new financial sanctions on Iran, what it's calling an economic D-Day. Iran says it's a sign of desperation from America as the war they started shows no sign of coming to an end. Tehran now promising to shut down all oil exports from the Gulf in retaliation. Here's more from the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
We have the blockade, and we are going to have the toughest sanctions in history. And I will tell you, this will work. It worked in Venezuela once we put up the blockade. It is working in Cuba right now, and it is going to work in Iran, and we are going to collapse this regime.
Well, let's get the latest from Iran now with our correspondent in Tehran, Reza Sayah. Reza, the U.S. there threatening this economic D-Day that's set to be announced tonight. What kinds of reactions has that prompted from people there?
Yeah, people here in Iran watch the news. They see the headlines. They are aware that in the coming hours, Washington, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is set to announce another round of sanctions against Iran, an economic doomsday. The toughest sanction is history, as Mr. Bessent puts it. So Iranians are preparing for another wave of economic pain. And one of the indications that Iranians are getting ready for economic pain is long lines at the gas stations, the petrol stations. I was out and about here in Tehran about an hour ago, and you could see those lines forming up. It is very likely that in the coming days, the prices of basic goods, basic food items, egg, meat, cheese, bread, they're going to increase. A report in state media this week said that basic food items have doubled since last July. Another indication that a wave of economic pain is coming is the drop in value of the Iranian currency. The Iranian currency trading today against the dollar at its lowest value ever, a little more than $2 million to 2 million rials to the dollar. So no matter how you look at it, it is very likely that economic pain is coming. And all indications are that this is an intentional move by Washington to increase economic pain on the people of Iran, to create leverage to get Tehran to bow down or get to the negotiating table and meet Washington's demands. The Iranian government is aware of this economic pressure that's coming. They say it's a violation of international law and part of Washington's hybrid war against Iran. And they say it's an indication that the war didn't work. And now that they're using economic pain, and Iran says it's prepared to respond.
Reza, the U.S. has put sanctions on Iran for decades. Washington increasing these sanctions tonight to try and put more pressure on Tehran to get it to bend the knee, so to speak, in regard to this war that's on right now. Is there any indication that the increase in economic pressure will get Iran to change its position?
Well, look, if you look at history, sanctions have not worked. All they've done is created pain for the people. Every time Washington adds another round of sanctions, there's some observers that say this time Tehran will bow down, but that has never happened. There's some factions within the government that are saying that maybe Tehran should return to the negotiating table. These economic measures, these sanctions are going to be too much. But there's voices that are saying the opposite. Remember, this month, there was a big shakeup within Iran's Supreme National Security Council with individuals coming in that have historically taken a very tough stance against Washington, including Mohsen Rezaei. He is now the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. These individuals say that Washington is on the ropes, that they should not negotiate. This is a fight for survival. And they've also suggested that Tehran should take more aggressive actions and go on the offensive and attack militarily U.S. economic military interests in the region. So a lot of factors at play here. And we should also point out that there's countries like China, Russia, and Pakistan who are not on board with U.S. sanctions. So all these are indications and why some observers say sanctions will create problems for average Iranians, but are not going to get Tehran to bow down.